The alien fleet, confident and poised for victory, discovers Earth's hidden fleet, one that shatters every assumption they had about humanity's capabilities. What was meant to be a quick conquest becomes a moment of terror as Earth's retaliation forces the invaders to rethink everything. The alien fleet hovered in perfect formation above Earth, its weapons primed and ready for the final assault. Commander Zethar stood at the helm of the flagship, his arms crossed, exuding the cold confidence of a species that had dominated the galaxy for millennia. The humans, insignificant as they were, had no chance against the might of his fleet. "We've been tracking them for years," Zethar said, his voice calm and assured. "Their defenses are laughable, a few old warships at best. This will be over in hours." The officers around him nodded, their expressions smug, certain that the mission was as good as completed. The alien ships, sleek and deadly, were lined up like a vast shadow over Earth, ready to strike. They had come, expecting a brief skirmish. The humans would fall quickly, and the galaxy would once again be under the control of the superior species. But Zethar's eyes narrowed as the fleet's AI began its final scan of the planet. The results were unusual. The data suggested the humans had done nothing at all to prepare for their arrival. Earth was quiet, vulnerable. There were no hidden surprises, no defenses awaiting them. Firing sequence initiated. One of the officers announced, "Shields will be down in 5 minutes." "Proceed," Zethar said. "Destroy their cities, their bases. Let them see their insignificance." But as the words left his mouth, something unexpected happened. The sensors flickered, and the calm AI voice came over the intercom, cold and robotic. "Unidentified fleet detected. Coordinates, Earth's orbit." Zethar's heart skipped a beat. "What?" he growled. "Run that again." The AI repeated, the data streaming in faster than Zethar could process. A fleet, a hidden fleet, larger than anticipated, completely off the scanners until now. "Impossible," Zethar muttered under his breath. "How did we miss this? How did they—" Before anyone could respond, the viewports lit up with a flash. A sudden burst of energy, sharp and blinding, appeared from the dark side of the moon. Several ships emerged from the shadows, massive, powerful, and unmistakably human. They weren't what the aliens had expected. They weren't old, outdated relics. These ships were modern, far more advanced than any of the alien ships had anticipated. The sleek, dark silhouettes of Earth's fleet cut through space like blades, radiating an energy Zethar could feel even from miles away. His hands gripped the console tightly as his officers scrambled to assess the threat. The communication officer's voice was a shaky whisper. "They're charging weapons, Commander." Zethar's eyes widened. How are they doing this? We have the element of surprise. Their technology, how did they develop this so quickly? Another flash of light. This time it was a pulse, far stronger than anything the aliens had encountered. The pulse slammed into one of the alien ships in orbit, causing it to shudder violently. Systems across the fleet flickered as if struck by lightning. Zethar shot to his feet. "Return fire! Now, we can't let them get the upper hand." But it was too late. The human ships began to maneuver with terrifying precision, outpacing the alien fleet's every move. As Zethar watched, the humans fired again, sending another pulse directly at the alien flagship. The shields flickered, under the strain, and then shattered, the energy of the attack seeping into the core of the ship. "We're taking damage, sir," the tactical officer shouted. "Our main systems are offline. Shields are completely down." The realization hit Zethar like a punch to the gut. Earth had done more than just prepare. They had built a fleet capable of taking down an empire. They had known. They had been waiting. They never planned to resist, Zethar whispered. "They wanted us to make the first move, and now we've fallen right into their trap." A moment of dread crept into his chest as he turned to the view screen. Seeing Earth's fleet in full, devastating force, he'd assumed they would crumble. Instead, they were fighting with the precision and power of a species that had never Given up. Their technology wasn't just advanced, it was brutal. Simple, efficient, and capable of destroying everything in its path. A new transmission came through, cutting across the chaos. It was a message from Earth's fleet. Zethar's heart raced as the voice came through, calm, almost detached. "We're not here to conquer. We're here to show you what happens when you underestimate humanity. Drop your weapons. Now." The message hung in the air like a gauntlet thrown at their feet. The alien fleet had been put in its place, defenseless, vulnerable. It wasn't just a warning. It was a declaration. "We're done," one of the officers whispered, the fear in his voice barely audible. "We've lost." Zethar stood frozen, staring at the view screen. The fleet, Earth's fleet, was closing in, each ship poised to strike. The human ships had no need to boast or taunt, they simply acted, and in that action they had already won. Zethar's hand dropped from the console, his strength draining away. "We surrender," he said, his voice hollow. A quiet moment passed. The tension in the bridge was palpable as Earth's fleet continued to encircle them, the weapons trained on the invaders who had thought themselves invincible. And then, through the quiet, the final message came. "Drop your weapons, now." Zethar didn't need to look around to know the outcome. They had been beaten, not by superior firepower, but by something far more profound. Earth had waited, and in that silence they had prepared. And now, the alien fleet was nothing but a broken shadow of its former self. They thought it was mercy. It wasn't. The alien fleet reels in shock as Earth's fleet rises from the shadows, proving that the humans were never as vulnerable as they seemed. Commander Zethar's arrogance turns to panic as the tactical advantage shifts. The battle has only just begun, and Earth is showing its true strength. The massive alien warships drifted like ghosts above Earth's atmosphere, their sleek designs casting ominous shadows across the planet below. Commander Zethar stood in the heart of the flagship, his fingers lightly tapping the cold surface of the command console. His mind raced, but there was no room for uncertainty. He had watched the planet for years, studied its defenses, and knew exactly what to expect. "We'll strike quickly," Zethar had told his officers before their descent. "One strike and this world will be ours. The humans have nothing left." The atmosphere on the bridge had been thick with arrogance, each officer brimming with confidence. They had seen countless worlds fall before them, and Earth had been no different in their eyes. A primitive planet clinging to outdated technology, ripe for the picking. The tactical officer, an alien with cold, calculating eyes, turned toward Zethar. "Commander, we've locked onto Earth's major cities. The weapons are primed. We'll proceed with the strike on the Eastern Hemisphere first, then take out their major military installations." Zethar nodded. "Proceed. This will be over before they even know what hit them." The command was given, and the alien fleet's weapons began charging, the low hum of energy building in the air. The bridge was silent save for the occasional beep of the console as they prepared to fire. However, the moment their weapons fired, things began to unravel. The first blast of energy shot from their ships, but instead of cutting through the atmosphere as expected, it fizzled and warped mid-flight. Zethar's eyes widened in disbelief. "What is happening?" he demanded, his voice tight with confusion. "We're getting a response," the communication officer cried, his voice rising in shock. "There's an energy pulse coming from Earth's surface." Zethar turned, his attention now fixed on the view screen. A flash of light, too bright to process at first, expanded from Earth's surface like the eruption of a star. The pulse moved at impossible speed, crackling through space, and for a brief, terrifying moment, Zethar feared that it would obliterate his entire fleet. The pulse collided with their flagship's shields, sending shock waves of energy rippling through the vessel. It buckled, groaned, and rattled violently. The once perfectly coordinated systems staggered as alarms blared throughout the ship. "Shields at 50%, an officer shouted, scrambling to keep their systems functional. "We've been hit. The pulse is disrupting our energy output. Zethar's eyes went wide with realization. What kind of weapon is this? He muttered, his mind struggling to grasp what was happening. The humans had fired back with something that could actually affect their ships, something that should not have existed in their arsenal. Activate all countermeasures. Another officer rushed to the tactical screen, his voice rising in panic. Commander, He froze. We've been surrounded! I don't know how, but Earth's fleet is closing in. Zethar's heart skipped a beat as he looked up. The fleet that had once seemed like a distant and irrelevant force now surrounded them on all sides. Dozens of ships, each one different, each one more advanced than the last. The fleet was massive, far larger than anything they had anticipated, and the most terrifying part? They had been waiting. The alien ships had failed to detect Earth's fleet, even as they had approached. The humans had hidden their power, keeping their ships cloaked and their technology undetected, allowing the alien fleet to make the first move. Now, Earth's fleet was moving with an eerie, calculated precision, effortlessly encircling their attackers. "They've been waiting for us," Zethar muttered under his breath. His mind struggled to process what was happening. They had planned this. Every move, every counterattack, the humans had seen them coming and had prepared for this moment. What he had thought would be an easy victory had turned into a nightmare. I cannot stay here," Zethar snapped. "We need to regroup, engage the hyperdrives, now." But it was too late. The Earth fleet had already launched another round of energy pulses, each one more devastating than the last. The alien flagship's shields buckled once more, the energy overwhelming the remaining defenses. "Commander!" the science officer shouted, his voice filled with urgency. "The pulse it's affecting our core. We can't contain it. If this continues, the flagship will be destroyed." Zethar felt the cold grip of panic creeping up his spine. He had led them into this trap. Their arrogance, their assumptions about Earth's weakness, they had underestimated everything. "Evacuate!" Zethar ordered, but the words felt hollow. There was no escape. The battle was already lost. He could see the damage to the fleet, the destruction unfolding on every screen, every view of the Earth's ships firing with deadly accuracy. The alien fleet was crumbling, piece by piece. But then something else happened. The humans didn't finish them off immediately. The pulse that had struck them so forcefully now halted, as if the Earth fleet was simply watching them. No further. Attacks came, no weapons fired, no explosions. Instead, the human fleet held steady, their ships in perfect alignment, waiting, observing. The silence was suffocating. "They've stopped," the communications officer said, disbelief coloring his voice. "They could finish us right now. Why are they waiting?" Zethar's mind raced. The humans were not finished. They didn't need to destroy them immediately. They had already won, and they knew it. "They're teaching us a lesson," Zethar said, his voice trembling. "They're showing us what it means to underestimate Earth." Another pulse rippled out from Earth's fleet, and Zethar knew, deep down, that their fate was sealed. Earth had defeated them without firing another shot. The alien fleet, battered and broken, could only watch as Earth's ships loomed over them like the weight of the sky itself. Zethar turned, his face pale, as he faced his officers. The lesson was clear. Earth had not just defended its home. It had annihilated their arrogance, their pride, and their false sense of invincibility, and that was before Earth even responded. The alien fleet, broken and retreating, begins to understand the true scale of Earth's power. Commander Zethar grapples with the crushing realization that Earth's true strength isn't just in its weapons, but in its strategic patience and psychological warfare. As Earth's fleet closes in, the invaders are left with no options but to surrender. The alien fleet was disintegrating piece by piece. Zethar's vision blurred as his hands shook, gripping the command console for support. The viewports of the flagship revealed the chaos unfolding across the battlefront. Earth's fleet, once a distant, undetectable shadow, now surrounded them. in all directions, cutting off their escape routes one by one. There was no way out, no hope of victory. The pulse from Earth had not just disabled their shields and weapons, it had humiliated them. Every ship in the alien fleet was experiencing the same devastating effects. Engines stalled, communications scrambled, power grids failed. A tremor ran through the deck as another pulse struck, this time knocking out the flagship's main reactor. Zethar could hear the crew members shouting orders, but it felt like a distant sound, like the echo of a dying world. His mind raced, but there was no clarity. How had they come to this point? How had Earth done this? "Commander, our weapons are offline." The voice of the tactical officer cut through his thoughts, but Zethar didn't respond. He couldn't. All of their systems were failing. One by one, the remaining ships in the fleet flickered out, their energy signatures vanishing from the screens. Earth hadn't just attacked with force. They had attacked with precision, targeting their weakest points, their vulnerabilities, and exploiting them without mercy. Zethar's thoughts raced back to the initial moments of the invasion. They had arrived in the galaxy with the arrogance of a species that had never known defeat. Earth had been nothing more than an afterthought, a planet of unrefined resources to be exploited. But now, the tables had turned in an instant, and the once proud fleet was fighting not for victory, but for survival. "We need to break through their lines," Zethar said hoarsely, turning to his officers. "Regroup. Prepare for evasive maneuvers. We can't let them finish us off yet. There's still a chance." A tremor of panic flickered in the eyes of his officers, but none dared to question him. The reality, however, was undeniable. The Earth fleet had already anticipated their every move. It was as if they knew what the alien fleet would do before they did it themselves. Every attack, every countermeasure, had been read and answered with cold precision. Another pulse, another strike. This time, a smaller alien ship, the last of their fleet, exploded into a brilliant shower of fragments, swallowed by the inky blackness of space. Zethar watched, numb, as the remnants of the ship drifted past them, its once powerful engines now nothing more than burning wreckage. "Commander," the communications officer said, her voice trembling, "we've lost contact with our outer fleet. It's gone, completely wiped out. There's nothing left." Zethar closed his eyes for a moment, the weight of their failure settling on his shoulders. He had led them into this mess. He had ignored the signs, the warnings. The humans had seen it coming, had been ready long before they even arrived. "They were waiting for us," Zethar muttered under his breath. "All this time, they were waiting." The realization hit him harder than any physical blow. The humans hadn't just been preparing for a fight, they had been preparing to destroy the invaders who had long underestimated them. They had been waiting for the aliens to make the first move, waiting for their overconfidence to bring them to Earth's doorstep. The alien fleet had underestimated Earth's patience, its ability to endure and strike when it mattered most. Zethar had thought their own arrogance was a strength. He had believed their superior firepower and technology would guarantee victory. But Earth had shown them that strength wasn't just about weapons. It was about control, strategy, and knowing when to strike. "Commander," the tactical officer cried, his voice now laced with fear, "we can't hold on any longer. The remaining ships, they're falling apart. The fleet is—" Before he could finish, another pulse tore through their defenses. This one struck the flagship directly, sending Zethar crashing to the floor as the bridge buckled beneath the force. His head spun as debris rained down around him. The lights flickered, and the emergency alarms blared, but Zethar barely registered the noise. He pushed himself up, blood trickling down his face, and staggered to the view screen. Through the cracked glass, Earth's fleet was moving in for the final strike. The alien ships, broken and weak, were caught in a trap they couldn't escape. The humans had closed in on them, circling like predators, ready to finish off their prey. Earth's ships were calm, methodical, like a surgeon making the final incision. Zethar's heart pounded in his chest. He had thought Earth would be a quick conquest, a simple victory. But now all he could see was the reality of their failure. The humans had been patient. They had watched, learned, and waited until the moment was right, and now there was no escaping their wrath. "Commander," the communications officer said again, her voice barely above a whisper, "they're offering terms. They want us to surrender." Zethar looked at her, his face pale and lined with exhaustion. "Surrender," he repeated, his voice hoarse. "They want us to surrender." "They've already won," she said, her eyes filled with fear. "They've given us one chance to stand down before they finish us off." Zethar felt a sharp pang of humiliation. He had led them into this. His arrogance had been their downfall. Earth hadn't just defeated them, they had crushed them. The invasion was over. The humans had won. He straightened up, his mind still in turmoil, but something inside him snapped. Earth had not just shown them their power, they had shown the galaxy what would happen to those who underestimated them. Zethar turned toward the officers, his voice low but filled with the bitterness of realization. "Send the message. Tell Earth we surrender. We have no other choice." The words hung in the air like a death sentence. They had come to Earth expecting a simple victory. Now they were nothing more than shattered remnants of a once proud fleet. The last alien ship sent the signal of surrender. Zethar could only watch, feeling the crushing weight of their defeat. Earth's victory was not just about firepower. It was about patience, strategy, and knowing that true power lay in controlling the moment. "They thought it was mercy," Zethar muttered, as the alien fleet's last vessel finally dropped its weapons. It wasn't. And with that, the invaders' reign had come to an end. The alien flagship, once a symbol of invincible power, now floated as a broken shell in the cold expanse of space. Its once pristine hull was shattered, its systems crippled beyond repair. Zethar stood in the wreckage of the command deck, his face bloodied, his mind reeling from the events that had unfolded over the past few hours. He had led his fleet into a slaughter, and now he stood at the mercy of the very species he had sought to conquer. Earth's fleet had been patient, calculating, and ruthless. They had waited until the perfect moment to strike, and when they did, they struck with a precision that shattered the alien forces in seconds. The once mighty armada of alien ships, brimming with arrogance and pride, was now scattered, broken, and utterly defeated. Zethar's hands shook as he stared out of the cracked viewport, watching the remnants of the fleet drift in silence. Earth's ships, pristine and powerful, hovered nearby, their weapons trained on the last of the invaders. They hadn't finished them off immediately. Instead, they had given them a chance to surrender, a mercy the aliens could neither comprehend nor accept. But now, the finality of their failure was undeniable. A voice crackled over the damaged comm system, cold and calm. It was Earth's command officer, speaking from one of their advanced ships. "Commander Zethar," the voice began, "we've given you a chance. Drop your weapons and surrender now. You have no further opportunity to fight." Zethar's stomach churned. He had failed. The alien fleet had failed. Earth was no longer a helpless backwater world to be conquered. It had become the dominant power in the galaxy, and they had not even needed to fire the first shot to prove it. "Do it!" the communications officer said quietly from behind Zethar, her voice barely audible. "We've lost. We can't fight them anymore." Zethar didn't respond immediately. The weight of the moment hung in the air. The pride of the alien empire had been broken. They had underestimated humanity, and now they were paying the price for their arrogance. Zethar's heart ached with the realization that his fleet had been destroyed not by superior force, but by Earth's ability to wait, to play the long game, and to control the moment when it mattered most. "Send the message," Zethar said, his voice hoarse and full of bitterness. "Tell them we surrender." The officer hesitated for a moment before complying. As the message was transmitted, Zethar stood still, staring into the cold, indifferent void of space. His mind flashed back to the early days of the invasion, when he had been so certain of victory. How quickly that certainty had dissolved. How quickly Earth had revealed its power. The comms officer spoke again, her voice filled with a hollow resignation. "Commander, Earth has accepted our surrender. They've offered a truce. We will be allowed to leave their space unharmed, but only on their terms." Zethar nodded, though he felt no relief. The alien fleet had been humiliated, their legacy shattered in a single night. Earth had proven that even the most powerful empire could be brought to its knees. They thought it was mercy, Zethar whispered, his voice trembling with the weight of defeat. It wasn't. It was then that Zethar realized something even more devastating. Earth had not only beaten them, they had outsmarted them. The humans had allowed them to come, allowed them to strike first, knowing full well that they would underestimate them. It was a psychological victory as much as a military one. The alien fleet, broken and scattered, began to drift into the distance. Earth's ships remained where they were, watching, waiting. The humans had won, and the galaxy would now look to Earth as the new center of power, not out of fear, but out of respect for their strength, their patience, and their ability to shape the future. Zethar looked out over the remnants of his fleet, his heart heavy with the weight of their defeat. His race had once been the rulers of the galaxy, but now the galaxy had a new ruler, and Earth would no longer be the world that anyone overlooked. As the last of the alien fleet faded into the blackness of space, Zethar understood the final truth. The war wasn't just over. It had never really been Earth's war to lose. It had always been theirs to win, and now, as the alien fleet retreated, Earth stood as the new power, unshaken, unwavering, and in control. The Earth had not just survived, they had risen, and the galaxy would never be the same again.